Hello and welcome to a Sportsdeck AFL preseason team reveal. It's George from Fantasy Take TV. So Sportsdeck AFL, if you're not aware, it's sort of the old dream team that used to be affiliated with the AFL website, but I think it's drifted off since they became AFL Fantasy on afl.com.au. But yeah, it's still a really good format. It's the pricing's a bit more generous, and yeah, it uses AFL Fantasy scoring to the Supercoach. But I think it's sort of a cross between AFL Fantasy and Supercoach, and it is limited trades. So yeah, I do encourage those who want to play it to do so. Last year we played and did pretty good. I think we finished about 40th, 42nd, something like that. But I think the starting team with your Sportsdeck team, because if you're playing Sportsdeck, you probably play Supercoach and AFL Fantasy. People will generally go, well, all the players I don't want to pick, play a bit high risk, I'll chuck in my Sportsdeck teams. I think last year I had Lipinski, Rao, Jared Berry, Dylan Shill even in my midfield. Just went bonkers on the mid prices and probably cost me a better rank in the end. But still they were value, so it kind of worked out not too bad. So yeah, we're going for probably a bit safer approach this year, and yeah, I'll get stuck into the team. Also, shout out to the person who always comments in the videos for Sportsdeck content. This is for you, bruv. Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be weekly content, but we'll do some updates throughout the year. So I think defense is, as you can see, Elliot Yeo is very cheap here. Goda is pretty cheap as well. So I'm happy with those. I think Yo you got to have at the price. I think Goda will play. He just had a niggle, didn't play in the preseason game. But yeah, also have my two premiums as Dawson and Dacos. I think it sounds like Dacos will force his way into the midfield, which is good. And then I think Dawson played mostly halfback in the intra-club, and he said that's where he'll mostly be. So he's in. For me, at the price, can't quite get to Sam Doherty, but that's okay. I think McKenna will play, and Constable I think will be decent to field if he plays round one, which it looks likely with their injuries down back. And then Gibby Wilmot on the bench. Well, also after we go through the team, we'll look at some players and their prices and yeah, the ownership and whatnot. So I'll quickly go through that. Oops, that's the rest of the team. I think the midfield is interesting. I've only gone the three premium mids. I've gone Laird, Oliver, Bont. I think Tom Mitchell's quite popular in this format. I'm not too sure on him though, and I think I would like to fade him, as I don't think he's going to be top 8 mid. And I think limited format, it makes it harder to trade out your premium. So he's out for me for now. And yeah, Laird and Oliver, my C and VC. I suppose I got it on Dunkley. Although very, very expensive, I don't mind paying because it does feel pretty easy to get to a final premium team. And I want my captain options early to get the points on the field. So Laird is my main captain and Oliver's my M2. And I think they'll be probably will be top 4 for midfielders this year. The other one I like is Andy Brayshaw, who's got a great fantasy game, has a really nice early fixture early, but might cop a Windhager or Owens tag in round 1, as you can see down here. So I might just let that one go, but I'd love to get him in round 2 if you could, but I don't think it's definitely not worth a trade to do that. And yeah, a bit hard to maneuver, so I'll pass on him, but I do like Andy Brayshaw after round 1. And then I've got Bont. I'm not sure Bont will be top 8, but I think he'll be thereabouts. He's a bit cheaper, and I think he's in for a really big year. So yeah, I just needed a cheaper option, and just couldn't get to your Brayshaws or whoever else is there. Like even Doherty's like an extra. Doherty's like 1 mil in this format if I wanted to swing him down back. So he's the one I like out of the cheaper mid. So just a little bit of value there after overpaying for Laird and Oliver. And then Sheed and Hopper, fairly cheap. I think Sheed will be top 3 for CBAs, but we'll see how he goes. And then Hopper is pretty cheap in this format, so 540k for him. I think he can make 200 to 250k, so he's in. I've got Flanders in. He's pretty cheap, 400k in this format. It's not too bad. Bit more expensive in AFL Fantasy, so I do believe that he'll play high half forward and get up around stoppages, but we'll need to see that in the practice game. Unfortunately, Tuka might be rested for the practice games, which means we might get a false sense of security as to what Flanders' role actually is. So yeah, he might play more mid and kill it, but that might not be what happens in the actual games. So something to keep tabs on. A few more weeks maybe Took plays in other practice games. And then Ashcroft and Phillips, pretty hard to not pick those. So Sheed, Hopper, Ashcroft and Phillips. I think maybe you can make a case if you're not confident in Sheed to fade him, but I think they seem like pretty solid picks in the midfield at the price. And then I've thrown in a mid-pricer, so maybe I could go one more premium here, but I've gone pretty heavy in the forwards, and yeah, just rookies on the bench, just placeholders. I think Johnson might be sub. I think Baker might play, and I'm not sure if Chester plays or not, but we'll see who pops up. In the rucks, I've gone Marshall and Witts, so just a set and forget format. I'm not interested in English with his injury history or Darcy Cameron, but I do believe in Marshall, and with Witts, I think he can just be durable and hold it down for the whole year. If I had to pick another player here, it might be Riley O'Brien, but my issue with him is sometimes the Crows might experiment what they do with their number one rucks. Rob's clearly the best ruckman on the list, but I'm not quite sure. Like, they've tried Thilthorpe a little bit more in the ruck at training. I'm not quite sure what his role will be going forward, and they asked some of the coaches about Thilthorpe's role, and they're not even sure either. And also, he was dropped last year for Strawn. Strawn's tap works, I don't know if it's better, but I think Riley O'Brien's tap work can be lacking at times, but he's around the ground work is fantastic. So I'm not 100% sure what happens there, but I think he'll outscore Witts. But I do like this, the durability and good buy round, and just Witts just ticks all the boxes except for maybe high ceiling. Just a stable option, I think. And then the forward line, I think these are all value. Dunkley, Cog scores pretty well in this format. So does Taranto. And then Rosie. I think Rosie's actually probably better for fantasy than Supercoach as well. Or maybe I think Supercoach might be slightly better, but Supercoach naturally you get higher scorers in that format. So Rosie's disposal can be off sometimes, which might be annoying, but doesn't matter for this format. So this spot here, I've got Miller for now, but I am monitoring Tom Powell from the North Melbourne. Interesting that he's touted to play a bit on a wing and a bit inside, maybe even half forward as well. But yeah, sounds like he's made some significant progress pre-season. Put on a fair bit of weight, had groin issues last year, they're gone, and he looked really good in the pre-season game despite low CBAs. So I wonder what North's CBA balance looks like when they have their proper squads. You know, is Greenwood best 22? What's Cunnington's mid-forward split? Even Simpkin might go forward a bit more. So where does that leave Powell and Phillips? So that's something that I'm very interested to monitor. I got McLean, no-brainer pick. And then I think the best two rooks at the moment are Pedler and Fergus Green. It does look like Charlie Comben might be alright. His role probably pretty terrible, but he did attend a ruck contest, so maybe gets a bit of ruck time. Chandler and I think Van Ruin might be behind. Chandler's small forward for Melbourne, having a good preseason, and Van Ruin might not play round one with Brown and McDonald, just more mature bodies. So we'll see how that works out. But that's how we're going at the moment. So just quickly look at some other players in their ownership. So I throw Jinby back in. He's actually the highest owner, which is interesting, but I'd like to bench him in this format. So you got Doherty, like really expensive. I wouldn't mind getting to him, to be honest. But I've opted for Dawson, who I think won't be too far off. Maybe it'll be 10 points off again. I'm not too sure. I think Jack Bowe's 400k, but is he a sub risk? Hayden Young's another one that's touted to have a big year. Look at the mids. So who's popular in the midfield? So I've got a lot of these guys are forwards, but yeah, a lot of popular guys. Tom Mitchell at 40%. I'm thinking about fading that. Just don't know. Maybe doesn't get as much outside bowl in the Collingwood system. Jury might play on that 5. Oh, I didn't monitor that 5, but he's 450. I think we'll still fade that. I don't think the role will be good deep forward, but we'll see how he goes. Tuke Miller, Jack McRae, pretty highly owned. I think I prefer Oliver to those two. Philippou there as well. And then the ruck. So who are people picking in the ruck? It's a lot of Marshall, and then you got your loophole. Then it's Cameron or English, and a few Brody Grundy's. Few Radagalias, don't know if he's best 22 or not. Few Lysets. Yeah, Wits is only 9%. What's Riley O'Brien's? 3%. So people thinking a bit differently to me. Just think hamstring in the preseason, not really interested in that. And I don't think Radaglia, if he's an intercept marker, he's not going to do well in this sort of format. And then we look at the forward line. So yeah, Dunkley, Taranto top 2 and McLean top 3. I think that's pretty clear. And then yeah, Rosie and Cogs very highly owned. So I think you just go with the pack because they're a bit of value. Unless you want to fade one of them, I'm not too sure. Rebalance, maybe add an extra mid or add an extra defender. I'm quite happy to pick all 4. Sheasel, I think it's a waste of a pick, to be honest. It's too much money. I don't want that on the field, and I don't want that much money on the bench. Butters, 14%. Minor injury, and this injury prone in general, and the better Supercoach scorer, so I'm quite happy to pass on him. Allen, 300k, I think it's probably too much. Probably better for Supercoach, if at all. You got Dusty here. Oh, Cunnington's 630k. It's not too bad. I don't hate that pick for his price. Played really, really well in the intra club. Really, really well. Was strong overhead and had a few clearances. I think did float in and out the game, but overall he looked really, really good and really fit. So I don't actually think that's the worst pick for 11%, but worry about the forward time. Probably not a keeper, and at that price you probably want to keep it out of him. So lose only a bit more than Sheed and Hopper. I probably prefer them a bit younger. So yeah, that's the team so far. I'm not quite sure if 3 mids is enough, but I think that's what we'll roll with. I do like a lot of the mid prices in this format. And yeah, I think the one I'm monitoring a lot is Tom Powell and probably Jack Bowes. So I definitely could see those two making their way into the side. And then see how Miller and Flanders go over the preseason. Miller has had some good signs, good role, lots of chip mark. But Dawson's playing a bit more back, which might hurt him. But he did take 1 kick in, which was encouraging. And then yeah, Flanders hopefully plays around stoppages. So that's the team. Let me know what you're thinking for this format. I'll probably make a league closer to the date when I do a team reveal, and you guys can jump in that if you like. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.